Why exactly did Sheriff Mickey Stines shoot and kill Judge Kevin Mullins right in the judge's chamber and is caught on camera? Is there any question as to what happened? Maybe there is, because new documents released in a federal case against Ben Field may actually show some things that we missed in the case of Mickey Stines and why he shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins right in the judge's chamber. And so while it looks like that's an open and shut case, how can you argue? How can you argue that Mickey Stines killed Judge Kevin Mullins when it's on camera and there's no question as to who's on camera? It's a done deal, right? Well, the devil is in the details. Let's take a look at a recently released court document in the case of Ben Fields, a deputy in the same department, if you will, as Mickey Stines. And does it shed light? Does it shed light into what happened in that judge's chambers? The devil, as they say, is in the details. Let's go. Now, if you're not familiar with my channel, I want to say it right at the front that I consider myself an advocate for the accused. That does not mean that I want the accused to walk free. That's not at all what that means. What it means is that in our country, we seem to have forgotten the basic principles, which is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And you have the presumption of innocence, and yet, in the court of public opinion, people are often tried from day one before they even step foot into the courtroom. And so we have a case now of Mickey Stines, who has shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins right on camera. There's no question about it. Everyone that has taken any time to see on the news that case, which was all over the place, it's obvious what happened and who did it. So how then can we argue that he didn't do it? Is there a chance? Now, a recently released document, and things we've known about for a while, but a recently released court document sheds some more light for me into what happened in the courtroom that day. And while I originally had a theory, which I'm going to present today again, for those of you who haven't seen it before, I have a new theory that might a different theory that might be also related, or this different related. I don't know. It seems like it's related. Now, what I do in these documents is I break down legal documents. I'm not a lawyer, but I am pretty good at breaking down legal documents. I like to run things through what I call the universal translator, and I'll read something that's kind of boring, kind of dry in the legal document, and I'll say what that really is saying is this, and I break it down into plain English. I also have on my channel many attorneys that come on, criminal defense attorneys in particular, typically, that come on and help make sure that I'm doing it right and saying, yeah, you're right, you understood that correctly, and furthermore, here's something else. And so this channel, I try to educate the public on the legal documents, the nuances, and the devil in the details, what's said and not said in the court documents. Now, what we're going to examine today is a court document. It's quite lengthy. I'm going to read a lot of pages of this for you in a lot of detail, but I feel like it's going to inform a lot of what happened in that judge's chamber. So this is not for everyone. Sometimes in those legal deep dives and all this stuff like that, people will be like, you could have said that in 5 minutes. And I'm not a 5-minute kind of guy. This is not the channel for you if you want a quick summary. I talk long and I give you my insights and I tell you what I see. And it's long. It's going to take a while to get through it. So let me put it up on screen. Let's get right to it because I already spent too much time. This is the legal document. Now, this document was a PDF that they've got locked down so bad on the web that I can't do any highlighting in it. So what I've done is I've converted it to a Word document so that I can actually highlight on it, because no matter what program I used, they had this sucker locked down tighter than a drum. The main thing we're going to pay attention to, and I'll try to blow it up on screen as big as we can. I'm going to read through all these highlighted sections, and there's a crap ton of highlighted sections we're going to read through. This was filed on September 19th, 2025. As of this recording, it is now October 1st, 2025. So it's very, very recent. This is in a court case, the federal government's case, United States District Court of Eastern District of Kentucky, Southern Division in Pikeville. It's Sabrina Atkins against Ben Fields. Well, what does that have to do with Mickey Stines and Judge Kevin Mullins? Well, everything, maybe. Because again, all through this document about this deputy Ben Fields, who is a deputy of the same sheriff's department that that Mickey Stines comes from, and they would have interactions with the judge. This is all the same thing, and it's all related. And in fact, this case may shed light. And by the way, in this case, as a spoiler alert, Ben Fields, who's on trial still in the federal case. He's been convicted in a state case, but he's also on trial for a federal case. A witness has mysteriously died, and the coroner is not releasing apparently how that person died. Oh, by the way, someone was going to testify against this person, and now they're dead. Shit happens. I want to know. So I'll be filing a request for information, public records information on how exactly they died, because all they say in this document and anywhere on the internet is how they died is not known. They were going to testify against this individual and now they're dead. Oh shit, things happen. Begins to make you wonder, how far does the corruption go in this case? And what really was going on in that freaking county and in that judicial system and in our law enforcement, and therefore will be critical of law enforcement and the judicial system and mainstream media trying to pretend like this shit isn't happening. Let's break down the details. All right. Now, before we get too terribly into it, let me recap just briefly. And I know that we're long into this already. So allegedly, from what we've been told on the video, and a lot of people didn't get to hear the audio of the shooting. It's out there and it's brutal. Hearing a man being shot and screaming and begging, whatever, while being shot at repeatedly from as he cowers behind his desk is rude. It's difficult. It's hard to listen to. So take that with a grain of salt. It's not pretty to listen to. And because of that, most TV stations will completely blank out the audio so you don't know what's going on. What appears to happen in the video that most people have seen is that the judge is meeting with some people in his private chambers. In walks the sheriff in, I think, plain clothes, if I remember right, or maybe partial. Anyways, I can't remember. Now all of a sudden my brain is blanking. I've got a thumbnail, so it's on there. He comes in, he sits down, he kicks everybody out of the room, everybody leaves, and it's now just the judge and the sheriff. And the sheriff seems to be a little agitated, going through his phone, seems visibly agitated when you have no sound on it. At some point, the sheriff puts his phone down and at some point, the sheriff makes a phone call, it looks like, and doesn't get anybody what it looks like. Then he puts his phone down and he asks for the judge's phone. The judge hands him his phone kind of casually, like, who cares? Look through my phone. The sheriff looks through the judge's phone. It looks like he places a call perhaps, and then gets somebody, and then he pulls out his gun and he guns him down. So what just happened? Well, the allegation was, holy shit, and we're just going to touch on it. The allegation is that this judge was a corrupt judge that was helping certain parts of law enforcement to cut lenient sentences or leniency on female inmates in particular in exchange for sexual favors, and that they would literally bring women to the judge's chamber and say, hey, look, if you want a lesser sentence with this judge, you perform some kind of sexual act and you'll get lesser sentence. And that kind of shit allegedly was happening. Now comes the story about the sheriff. What supposedly happened? Early indications were that the sheriff found out that his own daughter had gotten into this tangled web of people getting leniency, women getting leniency in the prison system if they do sexual favors for the judge and or people in law enforcement. It's even possible that Stines himself, as the sheriff, knew about and was involved. In fact, I would have to argue it likely knew about this thing. But maybe it hit too close to home when allegedly the sheriff was looking for his own daughter's phone number in his phone and tried to call her, and she didn't answer. And then he asked for the judge's phone, and he picks up the thing, and he finds his daughter's phone number in the judge's phone, places a call, and his daughter does answer, and he loses his mind because allegedly, perhaps the allegation would be, is that maybe he found out that the judge is running his own daughter through this system. Did his daughter have any kind of run-in with sex parties and law enforcement and judges and stuff like that? And when the sheriff found that his own daughter was in the judge's phone and not answering his call, but answering the judge's call when he calls from the judge's phone, did he lose his shit and temporary insanity shot and killed him? That seems to be what was going on in a lot of people's minds, like mine. But then comes this story, which is maybe something very, very similar happened. And I know we're like 10 minutes in and I haven't even started reading the document. Maybe something similar happened. Maybe he did look for his daughter's phone number, or even his daughter and his wife's phone number. Maybe he did find it in the judge's phone, and maybe that did snap to it. But maybe it wasn't what we thought. Because if you watch what happens in this document, new details will surface, and the actual allegations from Sheriff Stein's attorney will be referenced in here about what was happening with that cell phone exchange when the judge was shot and killed. And if it think it's crazy now, it's going to get crazier. All right. On screen then is the federal. Now, Ben Fields is a deputy who worked at the correctional facility where girls were run, and allegedly was sued by this person, Sabrina Atkins, who claimed that she was raped and sodomized in the judge's chamber by Deputy Ben Fields, who was in the correctional facility. So that's the summary, what you got to get. This is a lawsuit. Ben Fields already lost a lawsuit against Sabrina Atkins, who was the plaintiff against him, and he was the defendant, right? He already lost in the state case and is serving time in jail. But the federal case is still going forward, and major parts of the federal case are going to get tossed out, which leads to questions about whether or not what the fuck's going on in this county. But what gets stuck in there and what makes it into the ongoing federal case is mightily interesting. And I want to dig into the details. So Sabrina Atkins against Ben Fields individually and in his official capacity. Now, why is that important? Because Sabrina Atkins and her attorneys are suing Ben Fields as a man for what he did to Sabrina Atkins, allegedly, but also his department that allowed this to happen, including perhaps his supervisors like Mickey Stines, who shot and killed the judge. Do you follow that? And by the way, as a teaser, try to follow the logic on all this. Mickey Stines was deposed in this case. What does that mean? Mickey Stines was brought in on the case of Sabrina Atkins against Ben Fields because Mickey Stines was Ben Fields' supervisor. And so his questioning about, did people report what was happening? What Ben Fields was doing to women? And by the way, there's allegations that women were literally being checked out of the prison system like library books. They'd be checked out of prison. They'd let to go home with a deputy or a correctional officer for the evening, then come back and check back into jail the next day, like the men were checking out library books. And again, what the fuck's going on in this county? But anyways, Sabrina Atkins sued Ben Fields and his capacity, like his supervisors, which would include, for example, Sherriff Stines, involved in the case that we're really following. This is a peripheral case, but it sheds light. Follow it? All right, here we go. The plaintiff, Sabrina Atkins, and estate of Jennifer Hill. Jennifer Hill, by the way, cannot come forward. That's why it's an estate of, because she has been killed. Just recently, she has been killed. Sabrina Atkins and Jennifer Hill were coming against this. This already should have piqued your interest. Sabrina Atkins and Jennifer Hill were coming against, this deputy, and Jennifer Hill just died. Passed away is what they say, and the details of that are not known. I would like to know. Sabrina Atkins is left. The estate of Jennifer Hill is continuing to sue because Jennifer Hill can't speak for herself because she's dead, I think. All right. So plaintiffs Sabrina Atkins and the estate of Jennifer Hill bring this action against defendants Ben Fields and his individual and official capacities. Billy Jones in the office in his official capacity. And I think Billy Jones now is the sheriff instead of Mickey Stines. So he's been replaced, I think, in this document because Mickey Stines is now in prison for himself, awaiting his trial on killing of Judge Mullins. Are you following it so far? So originally, by the way, Stines himself was in here, but now they've replaced it because Stines is no longer the sheriff. Okay, so somebody else is the sheriff. I think it might be Billy Jones. I should have double checked that. But somebody else is the sheriff because Mickey Stines himself, as the time of this court case is still going forward, he has his own trial now and he's on jail. So he's been removed his office. So that's why he's not in why Sheriff Stines is not in his official capacity. And the Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, also known as EKCS. There's a footnote about the name. Don't worry about it. The name is slightly different. And so they're just clarifying which version of it's the correctional facilities. Okay. It's down here. I wasn't going to get too big into it. But anyways, it's the Eastern Kentucky Corrections Service or Correctional Service. Okay. So just know EKCS is the correctional service that Ben Fields was working as a deputy in charge of inmates coming and going from the prison system. And then we're going to get into their supervisors, for example, the sheriff's office. All right. This case involves Ben Fields' alleged sexual coercion of two women he supervised during their periods of home incarceration, one of which is now dead, and we don't know why. At least I don't know why, and I can't find on the internet why, and I haven't called the coroner to ask, but I bet you he won't tell me, and I'll have to do a Freedom of Information Act, and then they'll tell me we don't release information on autopsies and shit like that, so we're not going to know for forever. But I'll make the effort. Me and my team, because I got a team now, we'll make the effort to try to find out, but I doubt we're going to get the answer. So just shit happens. People die. Ben Fields is allegedly being accused of sexual coercion of two women he supervised during the periods of their home incarceration. Here now, legal documents can be very difficult. This is why it takes so long. They're going to basically sum what happened. Then they're going to explain each piece by repeating it again and then giving you the details. And then in the conclusion, they're going to summarize it again. And they're going to say, and here's why we ruled the way we did. And so a lot of times you hear the same basic wording over and over again. And I even will read it to you over and over again because sometimes the details change slightly or the nuances of what they're trying to have you pick up are important. So again, this kind of format of video is not for everybody. If you need a short summary, you don't watch me. This is for long legal breakdowns. All right. As alleged in the second amended complaint. So the first amended complaint had, I think, Sheriff Stines in it. Then they amended it in part because Sheriff Stines is no longer the sheriff. He's been removed because he shot and killed a judge in relation to this case. So anyway, so in the second amended complaint, Atkins, which is the person who's suing, the female that's alleging that she was coerced into sexual activities, Atkins' version of events is this. She was incarcerated in Letcher County Jail from April 2020 through April 2021 through June 2021. So a short period of time, she was in the Letcher County Jail. Okay. Statement number 2. Upon her release, she was placed in home incarceration. Number 3. Ben Fields was assigned as Atkins' home incarceration officer. His job is to oversee somebody who's on home arrest. That's his role in the department. Next, when she expressed concern to Ben Fields about her ability to pay for her ankle monitor, and yes, apparently it cost somewhere around the neighborhood of $600 to have an ankle monitor. So if you're released from detention and allowed to go home on house arrest with an ankle monitor, you still have to pay a setup fee for that being set up around your ankle and a monthly or a weekly service fee for running that service of tracking your movements. It's not completely free and paid for unless you're indigent and you have really, really bad finances or whatever, then maybe you can apply for some assistance, but normally you have to pay for it. And so what's happening in the basis of this case is women who are on house arrest and can't afford to pay for it and don't qualify as indigent, so they get assistance. Allegedly, this deputy will work out a deal. Hey, look, I can cut you a slack. I can make it so that you can afford that if you just do me a little favor. Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's the allegations of the coercion. This officer allows women to do sexual favors in exchange for not having to pay for their ankle monitor. Nice little system. By the way, if you don't do sexual favors, you just get your ass arrested and put back in jail, and that's a bad place to be. Watch the documents as they unfold. When she expressed concern to Fields about her ability to pay for the ankle monitor, Atkins claims, this is the person who's suing him, that Ben Fields made flirtatious comments about her appearance and told her that they could work something out. Okay, so it's obvious he's hinting, I like your looks. Maybe we can work something out if you can't afford it. Atkins understood Fields' comments to imply that she would receive preferential treatment from Fields in exchange for sexual favors. So she's not an idiot. When he says, hey, you're kind of hot, maybe we can work something out, she realizes he's implying, if you do something for me sexually, maybe I can cut you a break on the cost of your ankle monitor. Now, there's going to be a nuance here that I want you to ask yourself about, because I want your feedback in the comments, which is going to be, at the end of the day, who's the bad person? The person who suggests I can cut you a break for some sexual favors, or a person, as the counter will be in this case, believe it or not, the counter will be, she found out that this deputy was willing to do that and reached out to him and said, hey, can I provide sexual favors for a discount? So who's the bad person? Is it the guy that's offering sexual favors for a discount, or the person who says, oh, I heard this deputy's willing to make a deal, I'm going to ask him for that deal? That's something you can ask later as we get to that point. All right. In the first meeting, Ben Fields, I'm going to keep adding his names because these are new names for all of us, right? In that first meeting, Ben Fields removed Atkins, is it Susan Atkins? I should have got that from the very beginning. It's Sabrina Atkins and Ben Fields. Sabrina. So Sabrina Atkins. I shouldn't have scrolled up now. I lost my place. All right. So Sabrina Atkins understood Ben Fields' comments to imply that she would prefer receive preferential treatment from Fields in exchange for sex favors. In late June 2021, Ben Fields asked Sabrina Atkins to meet him after dark at the Letcher County Courthouse in District Judge Kevin Mullins' chambers. It's not clear anywhere in this document that I can find that Judge Kevin Mullins was present in his chambers, but they were using the judge's chambers. One might logically be able to conclude, and I'm just a thinker, that if this deputy has access to the judge's chambers, chances are the judge must have given him keys to his office if he wasn't there himself. Maybe he was there, maybe he wasn't there, maybe, as I might suspect, he was there, but people are keeping the judge's name out of it and just saying, well, it happened in the judge's chamber, but we're not going to mention that the judge was actually there. Whether he's there or not is not clear from the documents. What is clear is that this deputy is using the judge's chambers after dark at the courthouse to have sexual favors with women in exchange for cutting them deals or giving them a break on their house arrest costs and fees. In the first meeting, Ben Fields removed Sabrina Atkins' ankle monitor, advising her that she would not have to pay the associated fees and could remain on home incarceration. So I'll let you go home without your ankle monitor. We'll just keep it here at the courthouse. Probably that ankle monitor then doesn't set off an alarm because it can be used for the where you're located or the courthouse. I'm sure it lets both those things without setting off alarms. So I'll just keep this ankle monitor. This is my guess. I'll just keep this ankle monitor at the courthouse in the judge's chambers. What might imply that the judge knows that people's ankle monitors are being left in his office, but that's not this focus of this investigation. But again, keep that in mind when we're talking about somebody getting killed like Judge Kevin Mullins, what he knew and how far he was involved in this whole scam and setup, right? All right. I know it's getting convoluted and we're just getting started. All right. So anyways, allegedly they first met in judges' chambers several times with their interactions escalating from forcible kissing to oral sex and intercourse. So the first time nothing happened. Apparently the second time he forcibly kissed her. The third or fourth time forced her into oral sex and sexual intercourse, or coerced her into oral sex or sexual intercourse. That's what the allegation is. According to Sabrina Atkins, she was coerced and compelled to comply. So he had leverage. I need a discount on my ankle monitor. Well, if you do this for me, I can give you that. That's coercion. And compelled. If you don't blow me, essentially, I'll throw your ass back in jail. That's what's going to be the next part of it. So coercion, I'll cut you a deal if you do this for me. And then compelling, if you don't do it for me, you're going back to jail. All right. That's kind of the gist of what we're talking about in my plain simple, running it through the universal translator. All right. So she was coerced and compelled to comply due to Benfield's position of power and because she could not afford her ankle monitor. She feared that if she did not comply, she would have to return to the Letcher County Jail. In December of 2021, employees at Letcher County Courthouse received notice of the relationship between Atkins and Fields. This is another major red flag for our pursuit of justice in America. People in the courthouse knew that this shit was happening, and people had raised alarm bells because they knew people, plural, people knew about, employees, plural, knew about the relationship between Sabrina Atkins and Ben Fields having sex in the judge's chambers and doing things like that. And people shut their mouth about it, but they did raise, well, I guess they raised concerns, but it didn't go very far. And people start dying now. So Ben Fields filed a criminal complaint against Ben Fields, the freaking guy who's being sued, filed a criminal complaint against Sabrina Atkins in early January 2022 on the basis of non-compliance with the terms of home incarceration. Let me already get ahead. We're going to read more about it, but let me get ahead to it. When Sabrina didn't fully comply with the blow me and get a discount and didn't, then it was like, then fine. I'll just say you don't have your ankle monitor on that I helped take off for you, and I'll have you arrested for not wearing your ankle monitor. That shit happened. Whoo! This is getting bad. She was then arrested. Sabrina Atkins claims Ben Fields then filed a complaint to punish her and save his own job and reputation. So turns her into the bad girl. This girl's not wearing her ankle bracelet. I'm not going to mention that I said blow me first, and she just said no. She didn't wear her bracelet. Shame on her. Her ass goes back to jail. And unfortunately, in this country, all too often, people believe that the cops are the good guys. And so if it's criminal, and you have to understand, Your Honor, Sabrina Atkins has a long history of criminal behavior. Are you going to trust the word of a criminal or an upstanding cop who says that she violated her conditions of her parole or whatever, or her release, and took her ankle? But I would trust the cop, wouldn't you? Not the person with a long history of criminal. This is how it works in America. Cops are provided the benefit of the doubt. They're the good guys. The incarcerated are the ones who do all the evil things. It can't be the good guys. Evidence produced in discovery regarding Fields' supervision of Atkins is as follows. In her deposition, Sabrina Atkins testified that she was arrested on April 2021 and booked into the Letcher County Jail. While incarcerated, now here's the key of their counter to Sabrina. While incarcerated, she, Sabrina Atkins, heard from fellow inmates that women would give Ben Fields, sexual favors so they could not have to pay for their home incarceration fields. Full stop for a moment. What they're not saying in here is everyone in the jail knew this was going on. It was a well-known thing against females incarcerated in that jail. Hey, by the way, there's a deputy that you can just do shit for. You can blow him or whatever in the courtroom, in the courthouse, in the judge's chambers. Hey, and if you do that, he'll cut you a break. It's well known inside the courthouse. One has to ask how that shit can be known by everybody in the courthouse, how employees in the courthouse can know that this shit's going on. How many people knew that this shit's going on and then acted like they had no idea what's going on when the judge gets blown away in his own judge's chambers? That's what I would like to know. Let's go on. So she was released in June 2021 and placed on home incarceration. Ben Fields was assigned as her supervising officer. How convenient for her. The women inside the prison said, hey, by the way, there's this guy named Ben Fields, and if you get assigned him as your correctional officer, you can do favors for him and you can get a discount. And she gets then assigned to Ben Fields. Good for her, I guess, right? All right. The period of home incarceration extended from June 2021 through January of 2022. So about a 6-month period of time right there. The night of her release, Ben Fields brought Sabrina Atkins cigarettes to console her after she experienced issues with securing housing. So why is he bringing cigarettes? This is part of the allegation. He's kind of bribing her with cigarettes, consoling her, saying, oh man, I know you can't afford things. Let me help you out. Let me tell you a way that we can work together. He also told her that she was pretty and had pretty legs. During the interaction, she told Ben Fields that she could not afford to pay for her ankle monitor. She testified that at this time, she was terrified to return to the Letcher County Jail due to its very poor conditions. So it's a bad place in the Letcher County Jail. I haven't looked into it, but if the conditions are scary and poor in there, she fears, and that's part of the coercion and stuff like that that is helping this happen, helping this continue. Do you want to go back to prison? Then play ball. Ben Fields told her that he could help her work something out. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Following this interaction, Sabrina Atkins texted and messaged with Fields on a daily basis for about 7 months. So she texted and messaged with Fields for about 7 months. This included messages and photographs that were admittedly sexual in nature. She testified that the messages and the photographs were flirtatious. Now, however, Atkins stated that she flirted with Fields because it was the only way that she thought that she would be okay with that she would be okay on house arrest without paying. So I want to full stop for a minute. This is the asinine thing about man pigs. And I realize I'm a man, so don't freaking hold that against me. But it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that this officer, this deputy, will try to claim, bitch was flirting with me. Look at the text messages. She's flirting. She clearly likes me. That's why she's flirting. Maybe she's showing me topless pictures. Maybe she's doing this. It's a mutual thing. Can't you see? Where in here have I ever threatened her? She's literally flirting with me. That's on her. That she presumed that means that she gets a deal from me because she's flirting with me. That's on her. But she clearly likes me. Now, there, unfortunately, man pigs in the world actually might convince themselves. They might somehow convince themselves that girl really likes me. She's flirting with me because she really genuinely likes me. And maybe they convince themselves that cutting her a break is just a favor in exchange for somebody who likes me. Hey, you like me? Let me do you a favor. And I'm sure there are men who will convince themselves that it can't possibly be the other way around. It can't possibly be that because I hold leverage over her and because I can give her a deal and because I can threaten her with things, that's probably why she's flirting with me. No, it must be she flirts with me and therefore I will not punish her. You see what I'm saying? Fuck me. Anyways, all right. So, Atkins stated that, So sometime in 2021, at Ben Fields' request, Atkins met with him after hours at the Letcher County Courthouse in Judge Mullins' private chambers. During that meeting, she cried to him that she did not know how she was going to pay for her ankle monitors, and Fields removed her monitor. This initiated a cycle where Fields would meet with Sabrina Atkins in Judge Mullins' chambers, take off her monitor and put it back on the day that she's supposed to appear in court, and then remove it again after court. So what does that mean? So it's as if Sabrina, if you looked on paper, if you looked on the electronic tracking system, if you were to look at the alarm systems on that, she came to court and she never left court for days. And the next time she's in court, she's still in court again because the monitor never left court. So she comes to court. He takes her back to the judge's chambers, people. It's funny how they never mentioned where the judge was actually present when this happened. That just seems to be an oversight in these documents, it seems to me so far. takes the woman into the judge's chambers, removes her ankle monitor. He'll put it on for her to appear in court. Sorry, on my mic. He'll put it on for her to appear in court when she has to, so that it looks like to everyone, oh, look, she's still on house arrest. She's got her ankle monitor. Then when she gets done with her court appearance, back to the judge's chamber where they take off her ankle monitor and she goes back home. That's how that shit works. That's how it looks to everybody. Hey, she's coming in on her ankle monitor. She must be wearing it 24/7. Bitch, please. No, she took it off in the judge's chambers and then went home without it because she's providing sexual favors. I'm sure it's because she likes the deputy so much and not because he has leverage over her. All right. So Ben Fields and Sabrina Atkins met in this manner for 4 to 6 times. Upon their second or third meeting, physical contact between Sabrina and Fields first occurred, right? So again, the first time he did this favor for her, he didn't make a sexual move. It was just implied, hey, I'm doing this for you. Maybe we can work out a deal. The next time it's like, hey, put up or shut up. So he forces to kiss her. Then it leads to oral sex. Then it leads in anal sex, and hence the charges for rape and sodomy in the judge's chamber that's going to come up against him. Now, Atkins described the initial thing as involving enforceable kissing since Fields grabbed her and kissed her on the mouth. The first instance of sexual contact occurred between late November and early December 2021, escalating to oral sex and sexual intercourse in subsequent meetings. Now, the timing of this is all over the legal documents. At heart is going to be statute of limitations. How soon do you have to file a complaint against an officer from the time that it actually happened, the first time that it happened? That's going to come in here. And this guy, by the way, is going to skate on some charges because Sabrina Atkins was still under the process of getting benefits from this arrangement and didn't report it fast enough. So if she had reported it fast enough, maybe the statute of limitations would have not run out. So officer is going to get a little bit of a break for letting the statute of limitations. And the argument is, if you had a problem with it, why didn't you say something from the first day? Well, maybe because you're still taking the benefits that go along with that interaction. But that's an argument for another day. In January 2022, Fields obtained a warrant against, listen, to her memory, sorry. So it led to oral sex and intercourse. And then to her memory, Ben Fields made no physical threats. So she's admitting, the plaintiff is admitting he didn't make physical threats. That's what they're going to use against her. Nobody forced her to do anything. She did that shit because she wanted to, because he's a good-looking guy, whatever the case may be. That's the argument. Nobody threatened you. Did you make any threats, or did he make any threats? She admits, no, he did not threaten her directly. In January 2022, Fields obtained a warrant against Atkins for failure to report to the correctional facility while on home, or to him as her whatever, while on home incarceration. So there you go. This becomes with I'm going to let you off your ankle monitor, but by the way, if you don't play ball, you don't do what I want, I'm going to have you arrested. I'm going to get a search warrant. I'm going to get a warrant against you and have you arrested. By the way, that warrant, I'm sure, was signed off on by Kevin Mullins. And you don't think he knows what's going on? By the way, Alex's allegations that the judge and officers were involved in sex parties, the swinger parties, that kind of shit's coming out. It's just like the Long Island serial killer case. Cops and swingers and parties and sex parties and favors. Fudge, man. Do we have any good departments left? All right. Anyways, we do. By the way, there's good law enforcement, but I seem to focus on the really bad ones. All right. So Sabrina Atkins testified that she believed that engaging in sexual activity with Ben Fields was her only option at the time. So that's going to be her argument. I only had one option. I couldn't afford to pay for my ankle bracelet. It was play ball or go to jail, as proved by the fact that as soon as I didn't play ball, he arrested me and I went back to jail. She did what she thought that she needed and had to do to stay out of jail. She felt scared and terrified because of the situation. Scared and terrified, not necessarily of the officer, but scared and terrified of going back to a jail with bad conditions. In connection with his interactions with Atkins and another female inmate, BC, a non-party to the suit, by the way, and this is going to get complex. When I read this, I couldn't understand what was really being said. And later on, after I tried so hard to digest what was being said. And later on in the document, very, very late in the document, they say, the statement is super hard to understand what was being said. Thank God. I thought it was just me. I'm like, why am I reading this like 10 times? I still don't understand what's being said. And later on, they're like, the statement made by BC was super hard to understand. Fuck yeah, it was. So thank God that they confirmed that. And by the way, as I'm looking at the time, I'm realizing we're not going to get this whole document done in an hour. So I'm trying to decide, even on my mind right now as I go, because I try to do these in one take, if I'm going to just go for a really long time or whether I'm going to have to break this into 2 sets. Because again, I like to get into all these details. Some people like it, some don't. So maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. All right. So in connection with the interactions with Atkins and another female inmate, and they put in parentheses BC, who's a non-party to the suit. So BC is another female inmate they're going to have some stuff about. They're not part of this lawsuit. Ben Fields was criminally charged and ultimately pleaded guilty to third-degree rape, third-degree sodomy, tampering with a prison monitoring device, and second-degree perjury. That's the state case, I believe, against Ben Fields. He lost. He did lose. He did lose in the state case, and he got busted for those things. He pled guilty to third-degree rape, third-degree sodomy, tampering with a prison monitoring device, and second-degree what is it? Second-degree perjury, right? That's all. Degree perjury is all run together. Anyways, that was the state case. We are still facing a federal case. People are now dying in the federal case. So literally, people are dying in the federal case. Not saying it's related, but we've had a person that was going to testify against him suddenly died. We don't know how. And now a judge has been gunned down in his judge's chambers. And as will come out in this document, it may be because the judge and other people were putting pressure and threatening people to shut their effing mouth about this federal case. That's what's going to come out. I'm getting this out now because I don't know if I can do this in an hour. Literally, it's going to come out that people were being threatened by the judge and other people to shut your mouth about what happened. And now people are getting killed because they're not shutting their mouth. That's my take on what's happening. All right. The BC conviction involved only the tampering. Specifically, he admitted to advising Sabrina Atkins that he would not require her to pay the weekly home incarceration fee, and he would allow her to go without the ankle monitor in exchange for sexual favors. So the deputy finally admitted under oath on the stand that, yeah, I did tell her I would give her a break in exchange for sexual favors. Consistent with Sabrina Atkins' deposition testimony, Ben Fields further admitted that he would meet her the night before a court appearance to put the ankle monitor on and then would remove it after court. So again, it's for the appearance in court. They want her walking into court wearing the ankle monitor, so everybody in court and anybody who's in the public who sees her walking in with the ankle monitor will be like, oh yeah, she's under house arrest. Look at that. There's her fucking ankle monitor. But she's coming in without it to the courthouse in the judge's chambers, putting it on just before her court appearance, coming back into the judge's chamber after the court appearance and taking it back off. Tell me the judge didn't fucking know about that. Tell me the judge didn't fucking know about that. Anyways, sometimes they drop the F-bomb and I get mad. After he was unable to provide a requesting judge with Sabrina Atkins' location coordinates, Fields admitted that he obtained a sworn false criminal complaint against her for escape to cover up the fact that he allowed her not to wear the ankle monitor. Listen, during that state case where he was convicted, that judge, not the one that was just killed, that judge asked, hey, let me hear more about this ankle monitor. Show me the coordinates of where the ankle monitor went. I want to know as the judge that she went home. Okay, she didn't actually go home. I can't provide you the coordinates of where it went. And yes, now I have to admit that I actually had her arrested for saying that she broke her conditions of release because she didn't. I let her, like, all of that came out. I have to admit that I even had her arrested for breaking it. And so yeah, he got in trouble for that. Now, Ben Fields' supervision of Hill. Now, this is the person, I think, Jennifer Hill, who died. Hill alleges a similar scenario in the second amended complaint. She was incarcerated at the Lecter County Jail in 2019, placed on home incarceration in 2020, and supervised by Ben Fields. Fields also told Hill that if she could not pay or pay the ankle monitor fees, that they could work something out, meaning that if she would do him a favor, he would do her a favor. And like Sabrina Atkins, Hill understood Fields' comments to imply that he would waive her fees in exchange for sexual favors. So again, 2 women came forward about this. Only one gets to testify, it looks like. Gosh, I need to double check my facts to make sure that Sabrina is the one that died, because I would be horrible to say that I keep saying it. Did Jennifer Hill die during the federal case? Just want to double check real quick on my little notes, because I don't want to keep saying it over and over again on this video and be wrong. Yes, Jennifer Hill. Jennifer Hill died in the federal case. So court documents in the Atkins versus Fields, that's what we're reading right now, this document notes that Hill passed away in 2023. No explanation. How did she die? She's testifying. Her testimony is all over this thing. I wanted to confirm before I kept saying it over again. Yeah, she just fucking dies. This document even says so. Sorry, Miss Hill dies. How did that happen? I don't know. Shit just happens. People die. So she admits, like Sabrina, that Fields had offered sexual favors in exchange for the discount on the deal. And after Hill rebuffed Fields, so she said no. Jennifer Hill said no to Ben Fields. He arrested her a few days later, claiming that her home did not comply with the home incarceration requirements. Again, it's an ask. Do you want to make a deal? No, you do not want to blow me? Okay, then you're arrested. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. After her release from that arrest, Hill was arrested again several months later. And again, she was placed in home incarceration under Ben Fields' supervision. You aren't getting away from me, bitch. I am working with a judge. I am always going to arrest your ass and make sure that I am appointed your supervisor. Do you want to play ball now, or you want to keep going back to jail? You want more charges? You want more charges? Play that shit again. Oh, this is like the fourth time we did it. Are you going to finally play ball? If you guys are okay with that, we are not the same. All right. So, upon her release, Fields visited Hill's. Okay. So then, upon her release, Ben Fields visited Jennifer Hill at her house, warning her that if she would, that he would arrest her if she did not follow his instructions. Hill stated that Fields commanded her to get into the front seat of his vehicle and perform oral sex on him. Gee, I wonder, this girl's allegations are a little bit more firm. The other girl played ball, right? This one's like, no, not going to do it up to a certain point. She involuntarily complied. That's the tricky part. Involuntarily complied. It's disgusting. They're going to argue, well, how do you involuntarily blow somebody? She got into the front seat of the car, didn't she? And she blew him. So anyways, multiple further instances of sexual contact between Fields and Hill occurred in a similar manner, which they're claiming was always involuntary completion. Yeah, there you go. He consistently reminded her that she needed to keep him happy, or she would be arrested again. According to Hill, she was coerced and compelled to comply with Fields' instructions given his position of power over her. In approximately October of 2021, Ben Fields demanded sex from Jennifer Hill at her home, but she refused. During the same visit, Fields agreed that Hill could visit her newborn granddaughter in London, Kentucky, and removed her ankle monitor. Thereafter, Fields reported Hill for a violation of her bond conditions, and she was arrested. Listen, what happened? Just make sure you understand. He goes to her house in October, demands sex from her in her home, but she says no. Somehow she says no and says, by the way, I want to visit my newborn granddaughter. I'll tell you what, I'll let you off your ankle monitor and let you do that after you just told me no for sex. And then as soon as you leave, hey, bitch just left without her ankle monitor. She's under arrest, and goes and arrests her again. My God, this should make you angry. But it made somebody angry. All right. Documentation in the record shows that Hill completed one period of home incarceration from September 2, 2021 through October 13, 2021. Now, here's where it also gets nuanced. And again, why I don't think we can cover all of this, because we're not even scratching the surface of most of this document. And I find it super interesting. If you don't find it interesting, that's fine. But I might do a part 2, because again, this is going to go for more than an hour. And I don't like to do more than an hour at a time, typically, because you got to have a break. You got to pee, stuff like that. So anyways, here we go. Jennifer Hill's fiance, Chris Triplett, states in an affidavit. Now, I want to stop for a minute and reread the sentence. Chris Triplett is going to give a different date of when he thought things started between Jennifer Hill and Deputy Fields. That's going to be a major problem. That's what they're going to use to toss out. Jennifer Hill let this go on for too long. She passed the statute of limitations because her boyfriend, Jennifer Hill's boyfriend, said this cop had been hooking up with her much longer, and she didn't report it for much longer. And they're going to allege the defense will say, well, she's only telling you the last event because it stays within the statute of limitations. She's not mentioning that this has been going on for years before. It's kind of how the argument's going to break down. So Hill's fiance, Chris Triplett, states in an affidavit that sometime during her period of home incarceration, he became aware that Ben Fields commanded Jennifer Hill to perform oral sex and submit to sexual intercourse. However, Chris Triplett set the time frame that he first became aware of Fields that Fields was forcing Hill to provide sexual favors as December 2019. There's the sticky wicket. Jennifer Hill said it started around 2021, and her boyfriend says, no, it started in 2019. And that discrepancy of when it started leads to, hey, statute of limitations run out because it started in 2018, according to your boyfriend. There's no affidavit or sworn testimony to the record from Hill, who passed away in 2023. There you go. Who passed away. Part of a major court case against somebody, and she passed away. End of note. No footnote even. No footnote. Passed away. I look it up online. Cause of death is unknown. Passed away. Just died. All right. We're going to try to finish one more section about the training and supervision of sexual misconduct. This is where Stines is going to come in. Hopefully this will be a great place to end. So if we go a little past an hour, great, because we're going to bring in Mickey Stines, who shot and killed Judge Mullins, I think, in this section right here. Now, again, at heart, what we're getting into is whether or not the deputy, Ben Fields, was properly informed that it's a bad idea to have sex with female inmates and do things like this. Was he properly trained? Because if he wasn't properly trained, then perhaps the prosecution or the person bringing charges, like Sabrina Atkins, can sue a county, a government, and get more money. That's where it gets nuanced, right? If you sue an individual, you did this to me, and whatever, it's got not a lot of finances attached to it. But if you say, look, this is a departmental corruption issue, I can sue the whole department and I can make money. And I'm not saying it's bad, because holding a department accountable is how maybe you stop corruption. Maybe if the county wants to stop losing money, they'll stop letting this go. So anyways, the point being is that now we're going to get into his supervisor, which is going to end up being Mickey Stines, who shoots and kills the judge, who, by the way, all of these people are going to be alleged to have been told to shut your mouth about this case. So hold your hats. It's crazy. All right. So LCSO maintains a policy manual with sexual misconduct policy. This is the correctional, I think this is the correctional officer's company that he works for, I think. I can't remember. I didn't go up to find LCSO. I'm looking to see if the definition's up here real quick. But anyways, I think that's the company that of the correctional facility. LCSO maintains a policy manual with sexual misconduct policy. Ben Fields signed an acknowledgement that he had received the policy manual. So we're talking about, was the officer properly trained to know that it's not good to ask your females to blow you or perform anal sex in exchange for monitors? Because maybe he wasn't trained. Maybe that's the problem. Shit, if Ben Fields had just been told it's wrong to force women to blow you or provide anal sex for a deal, if he had been told, he would have maybe done the right thing. So maybe it's on the fault of his supervisors. That's where we're going with that. Maybe he should have been told, because I can't be held accountable for my actions. Well, shit, I didn't know that was bad. That's where we're going with that shit. But anyways, LCSO also had in force a policy regulating deputies' ethics and requiring adherence to proper standards. Well, good. I mean, they need to make sure they spell out it is not appropriate for you to require females to do these things for you. While former Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Stines, here we go. While former Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Stines testified that he didn't recall whether LSCO conducted any annual trainings on his policies, Ben Fields confirmed that he reviewed the LCSO's policies. Okay, and he recognized his obligation to abide by their policies. So, again, County Sheriff Mickey Stines, the one who's accused now of, and we know he did, you saw it on camera, Mickey Stines shot and killed Judge Mullins in his chambers on camera. Everybody saw it. It's not real hard to see that. I mean, we can argue whether or not AI is really good, and that didn't really happen. But if other than that, you know it's Mickey Stines, and he killed Judge in his chambers. So that's the thing. Mickey Stines is being brought in as a supervisor saying, hey, look, yeah, I trained Deputy Ben Fields about policies, including sexual misconduct. He read a manual. He signed off on the manual, but I don't think I provided annual retrainings. This is where they're going to try to go after, well, maybe he should have been reminded yearly that it's not okay to sodomize your female employees. And if he had done that, maybe he wouldn't have done it. Good Lord. All right. So he recognized his obligation to abide by the policies. Stines, again, Mickey Stines, the person who shot, I can say with pretty good certainty that he shot him, because that's not up for debate, really. Stines also separately verified that Ben Fields was trained and completed biannually updated training to maintain his CSO certification for being over top of inmates. And he was required to be familiar with and follow the department's policies and procedures. So yeah, we do have a policy about not anally raping your female inmates, and he's probably read that, so he's been properly trained. And that it addresses excessive force, abuse of power, sexual conduct, and sexual abuse, and sexual harassment. Good, good. So per Stines, he had an obligation to enforce policies, and he ensured that the deputies received their policies. So we're going to get into arguments about whether or not Mickey Stines did enough to make sure Ben Fields knew that it was inappropriate to sodomize female inmates. All right. Though LCSO had its own formal and detailed policies for handling complaints against deputies, Stines testified that he would generally speak to any individual that raised complaints about a deputy. Stines advised, this is Mickey Stines, the murderer of, allegedly the murderer of Kevin Mullins, the judge. Stines advised that complaints to put any, or that advised complainants to put any formal complaint in writing. So what he's saying is, I read that horribly bad. Stines, the sheriff, would talk to people. He would talk to people, and if they had a serious complaint, he asked them to put their complaint in writing. In his tenure, he said, he only received verbal complaints. No one who ever complained about sexual misconduct in his department ever rose above the manner of verbal complaints, according to Stein. Hey, look, if people said that something was going fishy, like Ben Fields is anally raping women in the judge's chambers, they would tell me about it. And I would say, hey, look, if it's really serious, fill out some paperwork. And nobody did. Nobody filled out any paperwork. So probably we're good. Upon receipt of a verbal complaint, he would speak to the respective deputy. So when somebody would say, hey, Ben Fields is arranging sexual favors in the judge's chambers, and he would go talk to him. Hey, is that true? He would talk to him. Hey, man, I talked to him. Okay. Evidence shows that over the course of time, Stines, Ben Fields, so Mickey Stines, Ben Fields, and other LCSO employees regularly sent each other graphics of sexual imagery and made sex-related and crude comments via Facebook. Stines would later testify and conceded that this was a horrible example as far as acting unprofessional. So the officers, Mickey Stines, the sheriff, the deputy of the correctional facility, Ben Fields, who's underneath his supervision, and other employees that all know this is happening in the court system, like to send each other sexual images and graphic information and make inappropriate comments on Facebook. And he's like, in retrospect, it probably is probably bad form that we all send each other titty pics and all these kind of things. And is that of inmates who are performing things that make you go, As for any pre-existing complaints about Fields, Ben Fields, BC, this is a person that came up earlier, stated in an interview, and this is that statement. When I read it, it doesn't make sense to me. I'll read it to you. It won't make sense to you, so just let it go, because at the end of the document, they're going to say that statement doesn't make any sense, so bear with it. BC stated in an interview that her mom, she told Stines, she said, I have to live in this town, but I know why he won't give it to her, regarding why Fields would not allow BC home interaction. Fuck me if I can understand. And at the end of the thing, he said, yeah, that statement's super hard to understand. Her mom, she told Stines, she said, I have to live in this town, but I know why he don't give it to her, regarding why Fields would not allow BC home incarceration. Don't spend any more time on that. At the end of the day, they're going to tell you, I don't understand it either. Stines denies that BC's mother made a report to him about Fields. So Mickey Stines says, hey, nobody came to me, including this person's mother, making a report about Ben Fields in any way inappropriate. I don't know what you're talking about. Around December 15th, 2021, Triplet, that's the boyfriend, fiance of the woman, Jennifer Hill, who's now dead. Around December 15th, Triplet claims that he also reported Ben Fields for sexual abuse of Jennifer Hill, his fiance, via telephone to the LCSO and in person to an unknown employee of LCSO. The employee allegedly refused the report and laughed at him. They're going to allege that that employee who he's reporting about Ben Fields is asking women to perform sexual favors in exchange for leniency, and he's doing it to my fiance and he's doing it to other girls. That was apparently reported to someone, and they're kind of hinting that someone was Mickey Stines. Mickey Stines' response was, hey, anybody who asks me about stuff, I always say, if it's that serious, put it in writing. According to this person, he got laughed at when he was told, hey, this is happening. Whatever, bitch, put it in writing if that's the truth. I don't know what happened in that conversation, but at the end of the day, what the document's going to tell us is that there's no proof. There's no way to prove that that person who laughed at him was in fact Mickey Stines, or that the person that he reported was in fact Mickey Stines, because all they have on record is that I called somebody, an official who was supposedly an official there, which was allegedly Mickey Stines, and I told them and they laughed at me, but ultimately what they'll say is, you can't prove that was Mickey Stines, so therefore Mickey Stines doesn't have to account for something because it's hearsay. You don't know that it was Mickey Stines, you have no proof it's Mickey Stines, you just said you called somebody and they laughed at you, but is that Mickey Stines? Prove it. All right. Now, we're at about an hour and we have a lot to go. I'm on page 7. I'm going to give you a preview of what's left. I'm going to scroll down. I've got all that. I've got all that. I've got all that. Oh, bitch, please. That's a lot. That is more than you probably want to stay with. Holy shit. Do I have that much? Some of it repeats, yes. Some of it I could probably speed up, yes. But oh my, is there that much left? I usually don't take that long to hook up a legal document. On the positive side, usually these things, once you get under your belt a lot of stuff, we don't have to break down that deep. But I do love to break down the court documents because it says so much and it teaches us so much. We're about an hour, people, and so I'm going to go ahead and leave you with some thoughts because we haven't got to the key point, the key part, the 2 theories. So let me take a moment to break down the key theory about the 2 theories. One theory, again, like I said, was the judge and the deputy were running girls, making agreements for sexual favors in exchange for leniency. And one thing suggests that the sheriff himself, Mickey Stines, found out that his daughter was somehow involved with these group of people. Did his daughter spend time in a correctional facility? Did she get run into the system? Did he find out that his daughter was being worked through that same system and involved somehow? Did the father find his daughter's phone number on the judge's phone, call, she answered, and he lost his shit and like, why the fuck is my daughter in your phone, dickhead? And then shoots and kills him because he knows damn well what's happening in that trial. That was theory number 1. Theory number 2, which we hadn't got to, but I'm going to do a part 2 to cover it and try to get there in part 2. And I'll do that a little bit later. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that for bonus material, members only, or I'm going to do it part 2. It depends on how well this video does. If this video flops, I'm not going to do a part 2 for the public and have a bunch of videos flop. So it might be a members only if it flopped. If it has a strong start and you guys all say, yes, please, 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 please give me part 2. Make sure that's in the comments. Make sure it's in the comments if you want to hear part 2. Otherwise, it'll go members only, I think, is where I'm kind of thinking. But anyways, point being is that let me break down to you so that you don't go, oh my God, you teased 2 theories and you told me 1. Here's what comes up. Later on, it is told in this document that we've been reading that Mickey Stines' lawyer will say that there's allegations that Mickey Stines was having pressure put on by the judge because Mickey Stines was deposed in this case. What does that mean? Mickey Stines was brought in to testify about whether or not he trained Ben Fields properly or not. He gave a statement. He was being deposed, and he might be brought back into trial further because he's already been deposed. He's already on the record. He's one of the people that might testify in this case. And if it gets deeper and deeper, guess who they might bring back into the courthouse? Mickey Stines to talk about what the fuck's going on in your department. What's going on exactly? There's all these allegations that women are being checked out of the library or the prison, like library books. What's going on? And so comes the allegation by his own attorney in this document, which I'm not getting to today, unfortunately, is this allegation. Mickey Stines was being put pressure on by the judge to shut your fucking mouth about this case. Other people were threatening him. His family, according to the attorney of Mickey Stines, it is alleged in this document, and we'll read it in part 2. His attorneys are saying his family was being threatened. Sherriff Stein's family, wife and daughter, were being threatened by the judge or employees in the correctional facility saying, Sherriff Stines, you better shut your mouth and not testify in that case against your deputy about what's going on. Because if you blow the lid off all this shit, your wife's going to get hurt, your daughter's going to get hurt. What those threats were, whether it was rape, torture, murder, whatever the case may be, allegations are that people were threatening his wife and his daughter if he didn't shut his mouth about this ongoing case that we're reading. That'll come out in part 2. Furthermore, as I end my thought for the day, if you saw the videos of Mickey Stines right after the shooting, he was in police custody by people who all know him because he was the deputy. I mean, he was the sheriff. They all knew him. He said he was terrified. He was very twitchy. And he said, when they wanted to take Sheriff Stines into a back room off camera, he panicked. Don't do it. You're going to kill me. You're going to kill me. I know you're going to kill me. So they're trying to argue, and the public and the media is trying to argue Sheriff Stein's got mental issues, which is funny because it's not going to help them if they don't want him to get off on temporary insanity by saying, well, he looks like he's insane. That's going to help his temporary insanity thing if he looks insane. Or is it something else? Is Mickey Stines literally afraid they're going to fucking kill him to shut his mouth? Because they already said, again, his attorney is saying, look, he was threatened. He was being threatened. And then on camera, if you've ever watched, they're out there in the video. Look up videos on YouTube or the internet about Sheriff Stines in holding. Sheriff Stein's in holding after arrest, and watch him tell them repeatedly, you're going to kill me. You're going to kill me. I'm afraid. Turn on your body cameras. I want this recorded. I want this on camera. Oh my God, please don't take me into that room with no cameras. You're going to kill me. Is that all a game? Is that an act? Because that's what the media is telling you. What an act. What an asshole. He's trying to make people think that he's afraid for his life. It's just an act. He's trying to get sympathy. Is it? Is it? Because you know what? Jennifer Hill just died, and they won't tell us why that happened. And a judge just got shot and killed in the chambers, and they won't tell us exactly why that happened. So is it a game, or is this case way bigger and way more interesting than you could possibly imagine? Stay tuned for part 2. And again, if you want this to happen on part 2 for public, please let me know in the comments. Yes, I want to hear part 2, you long-winded, windy bastard. Otherwise, check out for $3, $2.99. Sign up to be a member, and you can get all my bonus content for $2.99. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. That costs you nothing. Joining, however, you need to pay $2.99 for member-only content. Shit ton of, I got hundreds of videos for free. Do that for free. Sign up, hit subscribe. Thanks. Take it easy.